You're tuned into the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Zeno Pucks. Here are your hosts, Andy and Brian Matusi.
And welcome back. As we quickly approach the Olympic break here, we still have a little bit more NHL action left in us. But we have a ton to get to on this show. Andrew, how you doing today?
Real well. Probably a lot better than Boston's doing right now.
Yeah, that Stadium Series game was something else. We will definitely get to that a little bit later in the show, but I think it's definitely appropriate given how our previous discussion on this went that we opened the show by mentioning Linus Ullmark's return to the Senators lineup, and that for them had an outstanding game. I think stopped 26 of 27 shots or something like that. First star of the game. Great tribute by the fans there. I mean, he was all choked up, but not only, again, does he come back and have a great game, but he gets a huge warm welcome from Sens Nation. So that was a really cool moment. And again, just with everything he's been through the last month and some change here, it's and the last little while by his own admission since the trade from Boston. Good to see that. Good to see he came back and just had a really great night, and hopefully that can continue going forward for him.
Yeah, I agree. And the tribute by the fans was just incredible. And for those of you that missed it, it was a video of all these fans showing him support, saying, we know what people have said. We know they're full of shit. We don't care. What matters to us is you and your well-being, and we're glad you're back. It was incredible and a very, very classy move by the Sens organization.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And again, it helps too. I mean, I think making him the first star would have made sense even if he just had an okay night. But again, to come back and just completely lock in. And I mean, that looked like Bruins Linus Ullmark out there. I mean, if you watch the game, he just really stout all night long, looked really comfortable, like he hadn't missed a single game, which is crazy, especially for a goalie to come back after missing that kind of time. To come back in and look like you hadn't missed, even a period of play is beyond stellar. I mean, it was a really good outing for him.
Yeah, he was in what I would call elite form. And I mean, I hope it's something that continues for him moving forward now, because he deserves it. And he took the time to work on himself, and obviously it paid off.
Yeah, definitely. So congrats to Ullmark and the Sens. And again, hopefully things start heading in the right direction as far as their on ice product goes. But again, morale's got to be way up after a great night like that.
Big time.
The guy who had another really great night not too long ago, Patrick Kane, who is now the all-time leading goal scorer in NHL history among American-born players. Record was previously held by Mike Modano, who had 1,374 points. Kane now passing with number 1,375. So a guy who's already a first ballot Hall of Famer, Olympic silver medal, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, Conn Smythe winner, scored a Stanley Cup winning goal. To be the highest scoring American-born player ever. I mean, it's an absolute testament to what a legend this guy is on the ice. Without a doubt, one of the most skilled players, not definitely of the generation, but one of the most skilled players of all time.
All this does is cement his legacy, if we're being honest. I mean, there's been talk for years about he's the best American-born player to ever play the game, and this just solidifies that. Like you said, first ballot Hall of Famer. The accolades he has to his name are just insane, and there's a reason he's one of my favorite players ever. I've always loved Patty Kane, even when he was in Chicago. Like I've said recently this season, I really love him in Detroit. I think that is such a great fit, and he loves playing there, and it shows in his performance on the ice too. Like the guy just looks like he hasn't missed a beat, and it's just absolutely incredible. And I'm just trying to enjoy the time we have left in him, because he's obviously not getting any younger. But as good as Detroit is, you start to wonder, and as a hockey fan, kind of hope, is he going to be able to run it back one more time? And for me, as a fan of him, I would love to see him do it.
I think a Detroit Red Wings, because it can't be a Stanley Cup final anymore because they're in the same conference, but a Detroit Red Wings and Pittsburgh Penguins Eastern Conference final where it's Crosby versus Kane
would be insane.
Would be pretty cool. That would be that'd be quite the treat.
Yeah,
Kane's career accolades speak for themselves. He's definitely one of the best in the biz, and now the best as far as American-born players are concerned. So again, a guy who on the ice is just everything you could hope for in a player. He's a good leader, obviously extremely skilled, but has that clutch gene in him, what you need to be an effective playoff performer. And he's all that and more. Again, previous Olympian as well. Just a really great player. And yeah, like you said, he's not getting any younger, but I think it's helped too for him to spend his whole career with the original 6 teams. Even after leaving Chicago, he's never left the spotlight, so to speak. Again, playing in New York when I think that team had much bigger aspirations as far as the Stanley Cup run's concerned. But then just spending time in Detroit, the spotlight's really never been off him, even though he left Chicago. And that's really helped continue to highlight how great he's been his whole career.
Well, that, and I think it also goes to show how much he's brought to Detroit too. I mean, look at Detroit since he's been on the team, and I'm not saying he's the sole reason for it, but that's definitely a guy you want on your team, a veteran presence. Take away the fact that he's one of the best players of all time. Just take that away for a second and look at the fact of what he brings to the team. He's got that good veteran presence. He's got championship experience. He's a playmaker. I mean, he's a scorer. He's just everything you want in a hockey player is what Patrick Kane is. And he brings that to the Detroit Red Wings, and it has shown in their performance as a team too. So it just speaks volumes to the kind of guy and player he is. And he's one of those guys that you're going to see 30, 40 years from now, people are still going to be wearing Patrick Kane jerseys at hockey games. I guarantee it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's one of those ones where, 30 years from now, Mitchell and Ness will do a vintage Patrick Kane jersey, just because he's that popular, and there'll always be that kind of demand for it, especially within Blackhawks and now Red Wings circles.
That's a retired jersey number coming up in Chicago.
Yeah. I think even though he's still playing, if somebody signed in Chicago and wanted it, I don't even think that they would let them have it.
Yeah, I don't see a world where that happens. So, I mean, he's the kind of guy, he goes to a team and someone who's wearing that number gives it up for him. So,
yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, congrats to Kane again on not only a great career, but now again being the all-time leading American scorer in NHL history. Let's take a trip down to Nashville, where Barry Trotz, to the delight of many, will be stepping down as the general manager of the Predators. So, Andrew, a move that we have been thinking has been necessary for a long time, but by Trotz's own admission, actually, it's a personal move, not a professional move. So he's stepping in. He wants to step into retirement to give the rest of the time he has left to be with his family and friends. And which I can appreciate that sentiment. As far as the hockey side of this goes, it's been needed. Like I said before, we both said this before the season. It's not the right fit there. He just really hasn't made any outstanding moves. The team's play on the ice has vastly improved the last couple of weeks, but in a general sense and in the grand scheme of this for the Predators, his tenure has just been, mistake after mistake after mistake. And it's just, and again, if not for the fact that Stamkos is on a heater, I think it'd be front and center as this guy's got to go, and now he's going to be stepping down.
Yeah, this is. I don't want to take too much of a dig at the guy because, again, this is for personal reasons, and I completely understand and respect his decision on why he's doing it for his personal life.
I probably should have led with that, but yes, that's good.
Yeah, and he does have a son who has special needs too, and so I totally respect what he's doing and why he's doing it. From a business standpoint, from the hockey side of things, this is long overdue, though, and we've had this discussion multiple times. Nashville just has not been. Their performance has not been acceptable since he's taken over the reins there. And, we were given high hopes as fans or as hockey fans. He went out and just started taking all these big names. And we were like, wow, Nashville's going to be the team not to mess with. And they've been everything but. And I just think, again, I don't want to take a personal dig at the guy, but he's just, not cut out to be the GM. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, sometimes you're just not cut out to do certain things, and it is what it is. But I think, moving forward for that organization now, you got to start to look at other things aside from, okay, well, who's going to be replacing him in the long run, not short term, not interim, but who's going to replace him? Then you got to start to look at, okay, now we got to look at a different head coach, because you're never going to convince me Andrew Brunette is the fit there.
I think after this season, I would be stunned. First of all, I'd be stunned if Brunette stays. With them bringing a new GM in, I'd be stunned if Brunette stays.
Same.
That being said, I also feel like a new GM would come in, and if I'm looking at the body of work Carl Taylor has done as the head coach of the Milwaukee Admirals, he would be the first guy I would look at for that job.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think a coaching change is necessary there. To really go back to Trotz though, real quick, he's not leaving for health reasons.
Right.
Like if that was the concern, it's not. Trotz himself clarified that it was strictly to spend more time with family and be around his loved ones. So he's not ill or anything, but he wants to spend more time. He says it's not related to work, but again, as far as the on ice product goes, his inability to work at correcting the mistakes or the fallout from those big signings that didn't exactly perfectly pan out. His inability to kind of right the ship from that, I think, to me, reeks of a guy who was probably going to be replaced before too long anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, I don't want this to sound wrong, but it's long overdue. And that's, again, not taking a dig at him. I mean, he goes off with some good accolades. I mean, he won a Stanley Cup as a head coach with the Capitals.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was Nashville's only coach in franchise history for the first 15 years of the team or whatever.
Exactly.
I mean, he had an outstanding coaching tenure pretty much everywhere he was. Again, you mentioned he won with the Caps too. Like, this is a great hockey mind. It just wasn't a fit in this role.
Yeah, exactly. Like the guy is not a scrub by any means at all. Just like you said, GM just wasn't for him, but I like what he did as a head coach. And obviously his resume speaks for itself. So it's not like he's going out a bum, because he's absolutely not.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to be proud of and a lot of people that love and respect him. I mean, me as a fan, I do too. In that sense, that's a loss to the world of hockey, but at the same time, it's time for a change in Nashville. And I think this is both beneficial to him on a personal level and professionally. And it's also beneficial to the organization now, because all right, now we have a chance to move forward. We can regroup, see where our flaws are, and start working on them and come back stronger next season.
Yeah, definitely. And then again, Nashville's play on the ice has actually improved to the point where they could make a legitimate push for the playoffs if they continue to stay on the pace they're on. They're catching up in the standings, and Steven Stamkos is like turning back the clock a few years.
Yeah, he is, which is good. That's what you want to see out of him. So
yeah, that's what they've been hoping for. I know the play of Marchessault hasn't exactly been what they desired, but Stamkos has done well for them. Obviously, you're getting great play out of guys like Yossi and O'Reilly and Forsberg. But yeah, Stamkos has really turned up the heat there and helped them a lot. It could be interesting to see how they act towards the trade deadline here. If they're going to buy or sell, or just kind of stand pat until the new GM makes a choice. Trotz is going to continue to oversee the team as its GM until they find his replacement.
That's good. So, I mean, he's not leaving them high and dry either. So
yeah, he's not walking out the door today.
And that's how you know everything is on good terms. So,
yeah, exactly.
My only question I have, and this isn't quite related, but you said something about the trade line, and I've got to ask. Do you think they do anything with Saros at the trade deadline?
I don't know. I mean, I think regardless of how you look at it, you almost got to keep him right now. I mean, you look in the last few years, the goalies they've let go out of their system. Obviously, Askarov's the big one people think of as, going to San Jose, but Devin Cooley, who's goaltending in Calgary now, that's another guy they let walk away. They traded away Lankinen as well, or either he walked in free agency or they traded him. Like, beyond Saros, they really don't have anything to replace him. So unless they can get a younger goalie back, I really don't see why they would want to move him. And if they're in the playoff hunt and they want to buy, obviously, then you're not going to trade him because he's your guy.
Right.
The only thing that I could see like making sense is if Saros is part of a bigger trade. So like he goes to a team, Nashville gets a young goalie back in return, but there's also other players involved in the package. Okay. So, like, I think he would just be part of something bigger. I can't imagine them swapping him 1-for-1 with somebody else that has a young goalie. I just don't see that kind of deal happening for them. But so much of this hinges, too, first of all, on, if he stays healthy before the trade deadline, but how Nashville does. If they continue to be as effective as they've been, which they've been playing around 500, a little bit above 500 hockey the last few weeks, if they continue to do that, they're going to just slide into a playoff spot here, or into the race anyway. So they could put themselves in a spot where they don't want to sell. It'll just be interesting. I do think, to your original question though, I think pretty much any way you look at it, he does stay there. But the team as a whole is more fascinating to me because, again, just so much of it hinges on how well they do coming out of the Olympic break. And I guess even going into it as we play these next couple of games.
All right. That makes sense to me. And not to, take a dig at the team, but because on paper, the team looks like it should be a good team. So, which again leads back to my point about Andrew Brunette should not be the head coach, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think that'll be addressed anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's move on here. I saw this and it's kind of upsetting, but the season's so long gone there. But Thatcher Demko is going to have hip surgery. He will be done for the season for the Vancouver Canucks, who at this point are full tank mode, I would imagine. I would think if they could find a good dance partner to trade Elias Pettersson to, they probably would look at something like that. And I don't think anybody's really safe on the roster other than the guys they acquired from Minnesota for Quinn Hughes. If I'm them, I'm just tearing it down to the studs. I mean, you might as well. They're going to have a chance to draft a generational player in this draft. And they've already got some good young pieces there. So at this point, Demko being gone isn't going to hurt the season anymore. In fact, it may help it, as he is probably their lone good goaltending option.
Yeah, I just, looking at it from the outside, it's just like this team can't catch a break this year. And I mean,
no, they can't.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of it's self-inflicted too, but
yeah.
I mean, the JT Miller shit last year, and then he's gone. Okay, now he's on the Rangers. Now your quote-unquote problem is gone. Well, this year sucks too. All of a sudden you trade Quinn Hughes to the Wild, and now the team's got nothing left. And, they get some good players in return from Minnesota in that trade. But, I mean, Ogren isn't a consistent everyday player. Bouillon has been hurt a couple times, I believe. I think Marco Rossi is still hurt. Like you said, nothing's really going their way. But, I mean, they really kind of put themselves in the spot anyways. And then, again, injuries to those guys they got in that trade only made things worse, and now losing Demko for the year also makes things worse. It's just one thing after another for the Canucks. But again, I am so certain these top 3 players in this draft are going to be generational players, which you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. But they're going to have a chance to draft somebody really good, and I think the turnaround can be quick here if they're responsible. But the Canucks management has never been known for being responsible. So,
yeah, I was going to say it falls very heavily in the laps of the front office. And that's going to be your make or break for this team right now, moving forward anyway. So I don't know, but like I said, they can't catch a break. And, part of me feels for them. But as someone who's not a fan of the team, I say, na boo boo. So.
Yeah. And, I did say that, that Vancouver's management is not known for being responsible, but I still think with Jim Rutherford running the show over there, I know he's not the actual GM, but with him running the show over there, I mean, I do think there can be some smart decisions made here, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think responsible management could really turn this around so quickly for them. I just really question whether or not that they can do it, because it's the Canucks.
Will tell.
All right, let's move on here to Charlie Lindgren. I just wanted to mention this real quick because I thought it was kind of cool. Charlie Lindgren won a shootout for the Capitals the other night. Great game against Detroit. That was an absolute battle. But Lindgren gets hurt at the end of overtime and stays out there to play the shootout because the backup who I don't think it was Logan Thompson. I think I don't remember if it was Thompson or if they had a third string up or what, but basically Charlie Lindgren was like, look, I'm not going to have him come in here after sitting on the bench all game and risk getting him injured. I'm already injured. I'll just stay out here. So he stays out for the shootout for the Capitals. They win the fucking shootout. He didn't make a single save, but they won the shootout because Detroit missed a shot at the end. But he stays in there for them, wins the shootout, and his teammates carry him off the ice and down the tunnel. And it was a great look by the TV crew to get the shot of John Carlson, and I forget who else carrying him down the tunnel. But it was kind of an inspiring moment. It kind of looked like something out of a movie, but great look for Charlie Lindgren. Like, obviously, I'm sure his heart sank into his stomach when he realized he was injured, but, the cojones to get up and be like, look, I'm playing this shootout so nobody else has to get hurt anyways, and just to win the fucking thing. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was really cool. And like you said, good job by the guys in the truck to get that shot of him getting carried down the tunnel. That was just elite and honestly pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie, on Charlie Lindgren's part.
Yeah, normally you and I say that good look by the crew in the truck as a joke because you know so many times these camera angles get fucked up or something on TV, and you're like, really? How did they miss this or that? But this time there was an absolutely perfect shot of them going down the tunnel. Everybody's smiling because they won, but certainly a cool scene. Before we go to break, I do want to just mention this as well that the NHL put out. So there were 31 hat tricks recorded in the month of January, so averages out to one a day, but that is the most hat tricks in a single month in NHL history, apparently. So obviously it did seem like there were a lot of hat tricks last month, and now we kind of know why. It was the most ever one month. Yeah. There was a ton, and from some unlikely candidates too. There were a couple of those on that list that they put out where I'm like, wow, I was like Darren Radish. You would have never thought of going into this year. What a great season he's having too, by the way, for Tampa. But just some weird names on the list where you're like, man, this is really strange. But yeah, there was a ton of them, and clearly it was enough to set a record. So just thought that was kind of cool and wanted to share that as well. We're going to take a quick break here and listen to our friends from Xenopucks. And when we come back, you and I are going to talk about how the Blue Jackets have absolutely destroyed everything in their way since bringing on Bones as the head coach.
Yeah, I am very excited to talk about it because we finally get to say some positive things about Columbus. So,
all right, well, we will do that on the other side of this break. This is the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast.
It's hockey season, and you're looking to work on your stick handling or maybe even your shot, but ice time just isn't an option for you right now. Luckily, our buddies over at Xenopucks have got you covered. They've developed an elite off-ice practice puck that, in addition to looking like the real thing, is the same size and weight as a regulation hockey puck to give you that authentic feel on the end of your stick. It works better than other off-ice practice pucks on almost any surface, whether you use it on hardwood, carpet, concrete, or even asphalt. Xenopucks glide like a real puck on ice. So if you're looking to improve your game without setting foot on the ice, head over to www.xenopucks.com and get yourself a puck. Check out their merch selection and be sure to follow them on Instagram at Xenopucks.
Okay, and we're back. So, actually, before we get to the Blue Jackets, we mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to talk about the Stadium Series. And, yeah, what a game it was. I mean, you could argue, especially given the fact that it was in Tampa Bay of all places, to still have that kind of environment. That might have been one of the best outdoor games we've seen. So, to summarize, it's pretty straightforward. Boston opens up a huge 5-1 lead early in the second period, it was. And, we get a goalie fight between Swayman and Vasilevsky, and after a flurry of Bruins penalties, Tampa makes it 5-4 by the end of the second period. And they tie it up in the third period and win it in a shootout, and kind of just one of the craziest comebacks at any outdoor game. And apparently it was the largest comeback in a game in Lightning franchise history. So kind of a hectic game. With the weird cold weather they're having in Florida, the environment was just right for an outdoor game. Andrew, what were your thoughts on the Stadium Series, man? That was a hell of an event they had there, and everything kind of worked out weather-wise. So what did you think of the game?
In my personal opinion, it is the best Stadium Series game I've watched. Best outdoor game I've ever watched. It was nonstop action from the get-go. I mean, Tampa opens it up 11 seconds in and scores. Kind of a fluke goal on Jeremy Swayman, but Charlie McAvoy said it in his first intermission interview. He said it real well. You know, when the team scores that fast, it's real easy just to pretend it never happened and just reset and then go from there. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't run into any real issues until they hit that small stretch where they couldn't stay out of the box and they were drawing penalties every 30 seconds. And that's literally what came back to bite them in the ass. I'm telling you right now, if those penalties don't happen, Boston comes out victorious in this game. This game never would have even went to overtime. I guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely. Ray Ferraro and Sean McDonough on the ESPN broadcast straight up said when Tampa got their power play and it was 5-1, and Sean McDonough basically said, like, it's kind of a long shot, but if Tampa's going to have any kind of dreams of climbing into this game, they're going to have to probably score one here, and they did, and then they scored one right after, and yeah, just a really, really bad series of mistakes by the Bruins in that second period after it seemed like they were going to walk away with it. I mean, 5-1, I figured it was a wash. I thought about turning the game off.
Yeah, and I throughout that whole game, Tampa had a lot of really good looks too, and Swayman was just playing out of his mind. Like that's the thing. Like Tampa wasn't playing bad. Boston just had their number for the majority of that game until, like we just said, they became their own worst enemy in that third period, and it really came back to bite them in the ass. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I was pulling real hard for Boston, and they couldn't get it done. And that comes down to discipline, honestly, and a lot of. And let me rephrase that. It comes down to not taking pointless penalties. I mean, you go on the penalty kill, you start to get a little sloppy, and a lot of it's probably due to desperation. I get it.
Well, they're without Lindholm, and they're without Zaka as well. So you're already playing shorthanded, and you're down your 1 and 2 centers. So I get when guys are gripping the stick a little tighter or whatever.
Oh yeah, and I want, and like I get it, but I mean they got in their own heads too. So it's just a multitude of issues there that ultimately ended up costing the game. And it just goes to show you how costly simple little mistakes can be in a game as fast paced as hockey. And it just goes to show you that no lead is a safe lead and anything can happen. So it's unfortunate for Boston. But I mean, good on Tampa for capitalizing on the opportunities they had and ultimately coming away with a victory. It's not the turnout I wanted to see, but I think the stadium series as a whole, that particular game from start to finish, the game itself, the presentation, the Tim McGraw, like everything was just, it was so well done, and the weather cooperated for them. It just could not have gone better, in my opinion. And we got a great game out of it. So yeah. I have no complaints. I loved everything about it except the outcome.
Honestly, and Pasternak's comments after the game about the call in OT where he thought they were about to win the game, and all of a sudden now they're killing a penalty, and then ultimately they lose in a shootout. I mean, he's definitely got a legitimate gripe with the officiating. I did think there were some bad calls in that game and some bad missed calls, but you can't blow a 4-goal lead in a period and a half. I mean, yeah, you just can't.
Exactly.
If you get out to that big of a lead, I mean, most of the rest of that game should be on cruise control. Keep solid offensive pressure the rest of the game. But really, you're just moving the clock and killing time, or you're moving the puck to kill time at that point. Why are you taking, to your point, Andrew, stupid, unnecessary penalties when you're up by 4 and even giving them a glimmer of hope? That glimmer of hope turned into the best comeback in their franchise's history. So as much as I agree that there were definitely some piss poor officiating moments in this game, it wasn't what led to you allowing 4 goals in a row.
Exactly. And that's ultimately what it boils down to. I mean, and everybody's always so quick to jump at the officiating any chance they get in any game, really.
Yeah.
But again, there were penalties that should not have been taken that were, and that ultimately falls on Boston for that. It was aggravating to watch, but the shit happens. That's how hockey works. Now, the one thing I got to address: who told John Cooper that dressing like Tony Montana was going to be a good idea?
Yeah, that was tough to watch. My wife and I were watching the game, and I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, if this is somebody's first hockey game, they're going to think the coaches are fucking stupid.
Yeah, and especially when you look over at Boston's bench and Marco Sturm is just dressed like a regular ass dude.
Yeah.
So I was just like, but I mean, that's John Cooper though, and so it is what it is. I actually, my buddy Danny, who listens to this show, as you know, is a huge Bolts fan, and I texted him. I think it was 5-1 still at this point, and I just texted him, and I said, Tampa looks really good, and he texted me back and said, no, they don't. And I was like, if you only watch the first 11 seconds of this game, they look amazing. And that was karma coming back to bite me in the ass, because look what happened. So remember, folks, don't talk shit until the game is over. That's the moral of the story.
Unless you're up by like 6 with 10 seconds left, yeah, don't say shit.
Yeah.
You and I, we went to the Cleveland Monsters game the other night, and they let a pretty big lead get away against Belleville, the Senators, and then they still pulled out the win in OT. But I think it was a 3-goal lead they squandered in really short order, and thankfully were able to bail that one out. That was one of their most attended games in the franchise's history too. So glad they didn't let that one get away.
They had a really good turnout they had over 30,000 this past weekend for the Monsters. So
it was Zach Werenski bobblehead, and they're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of their Calder Cup. So that was a really good turnout for that game for sure. And then thankfully again, the Monsters didn't let that lead get away.
Yeah. So thankfully they pulled it off because they've been less than favorable to watch this year. So
and somehow they still might make the playoffs because the AHL's playoff structure is goofy.
Yeah, even goofier than the NHL. So
though I don't give them too much crap for it because it is. I mean, there is so much revenue that needs to be driven by tickets for that league. So any way you can get these teams playoff games to help drive in a little more revenue, I'm all for. So
absolutely. And we say this a lot that the Monsters, obviously they lead the league in attendance every year, but they're fortunate enough to have the arena they have, and they're owned by the same gentleman who owns the Cleveland Cavaliers. So the money is there for that team regardless. So they're very fortunate in that sense. And not a lot of AHL teams have that luxury. So it's something that I think we as fans take for granted that we need to not let slip away from us and realize how good we have it.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the Milwaukee Bucks owners didn't try and buy the Milwaukee Admirals when they built Pfizer for them.
That blows my mind still. I can't, even if the market is there.
Yeah, well, the market's there, but not only it's not going to be a profitable asset per se, but like it's a tax write-off. Like your money maker is the Bucks. And
dude,
you could literally just use your AHL team as a tax write-off, but you already have the building for it. They've on multiple occasions, including hosting a preseason NHL game, they've shown that they can put out an NHL-sized rink and still use the building. It wouldn't be a situation like out in Utah. It fits both, and I think they just completely missed an opportunity to have something great in that building.
Oh, I think it could have actually been profitable for them with the Admirals. And again, I use Cleveland as an example. If you have owners that are willing to invest not only money, but the time into the organization, you will have success. And I think the Monsters are a textbook example of that. So it just comes down to having owners who are committed. And honestly, as much as I think as they're missing out here, I'd rather have them turn it down if they weren't willing to commit to it, because it would have been far more disastrous if they did buy them and then weren't willing to commit financially or, time wise. I think it could have been worse off for the Admirals in that sense. So
yeah, maybe just as somebody who's a fan of them though, just like I would love to have, like, I got to see them play in the Bradley Center before they tore that down, and it's a big building and great game to see, a great building to see a hockey game in.
For sure. Well, that's what it was built for initially.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think the Admirals at Fiserv would be so much more fun. I think the games would feel more lively. The building is obviously significantly newer. I mean, you're talking about something built in 2017 versus Lord knows how old
18,
UW Milwaukee.
17?
Yeah, UW Milwaukee Panther Arena is extremely old. We're talking probably at least 100 years, I would think. That's an old building.
It is 100 years old, and that's the biggest gripe I have with the Admirals organization is you have, first of all, they're a great team right now, and they have such a good loyal fan base. The team and the fans deserve better than the arena they're in, and I understand financially it's what they can do right now, so I get it. But the organization as a whole, I feel, deserves
building
better.
Opened in 1950, by the way.
Oh, Jesus. Well, it looks like it.
They play in a 76-year-old arena. I mean, it's very mundane, it's not run down, but it's very.
It looks its age.
It's extreme. Yeah, it looks its age. It's extremely lackluster. Other than the jumbotron over center ice, there's just really not a lot of excitement to it. Plus, there's a couple of obstructed view seats on one of the end zones, so that kind of sucks too.
And they're limited to what they can do with that building because it's owned by UW Milwaukee. Like that's UW Milwaukee's arena.
They couldn't. Yeah, that's why they couldn't change. That's why they didn't change the name. Is the university wouldn't let them.
Yeah, and so I mean, like you said, they're working with what they have. Obviously, when the Bradley Center got torn down, they were kind of like, we got to go wherever is willing to take us. And they, before the Bradley Center, they played in the Panther Arena. So it was kind of like, all right, well, we're going back to what we know. But I agree, Bradley Center was the place to be for Admirals games. And when they built that arena in the late 80s, it was built because they were going to make a pitch for an NHL team. I don't remember the circumstances as to why they never got one, but that was
they
originally.
didn't want to pay. I don't know what the name of the fee was, but they would have had to pay like a $50 million fee to the Blackhawks because it's their it's their market, so to speak.
Oh, well,
they would have had to pay that, and I don't know if they wanted to pay expansion costs or not or whatever. But yeah, it never came close to coming to fruition just because of there's too many hurdles, and it just never came close.
But they're a good example. Milwaukee's a good example of they're a place that the market is there for hockey. It'll just NHL wise, it'll most likely never happen.
Boy, this podcast took such a hard left turn.
Well, it's something we're both passionate about. We grew up in Wisconsin. We've gone to, I can't tell you how many fucking Admirals games we've been to. So it's just, I mean, you're speaking from a fan's perspective. And now that we live in Cleveland, and we have the luxury of going to the Monsters, and we can physically see what we were missing out on with the Admirals, or what the Admirals are missing out on. But again, that all comes back down to ownership at the end of the day. So it is what it is. And I'm not digging at the Admirals' current ownership by any means.
All right. Well, we'll go from that and we'll head down to Columbus and talk about the tear the Jackets are on, because it is worth mentioning that they are 9-1 under new coach Rick Bowness. Look, Bones was a great coach. He was great in Dallas, great in Winnipeg, very much loved in Winnipeg. I expected that there would be a certain level of improvement to this team's play under him. I did not think they'd win 9 of 10.
It just goes to show you how big of a difference a coaching change can make. When the coaching change is the right move, which in this case, it was.
I was going to say, in a situation like this where the previous coach had lost the room, to have a fresh voice come in and have it be a guy that's so well respected, I think the morale probably just shot through the roof. And they're beating teams all walks of life here. I mean, we talked about it last episode. We're going against all different levels of skill here. I mean, they've beaten Tampa, they beat the Stars, but they've also beaten up on the weak teams like the Flames, like the Canucks, like the Blackhawks, like not the Flyers as much, but they have a game tomorrow Tuesday night against the Devils, like probably a team that they can beat given how bad Jersey season's going anyways. But it doesn't really seem to matter who's in front of them. They're just attacking, and it's working, and they just can't stop winning, save for one game against the Senators.
Yeah, and it's been a breath of fresh air because we were so convinced that the season was just doomed. And you could argue it took longer than expected for them to get rid of Dean Evason. And I think I've said this before. I think it went back to, well, we saw how the season started and that was good. So we know what this team is capable of. It can't be the coach. So I think it was a matter of them wanting it to work out, but it's very evident to me that this was the move that needed to be made. And it's shown all over the ice, all the way down to the goaltending. I mean, even Elvis has turned it around. Jet's looking like himself again. Things are firing on all cylinders right now for Columbus, and it's a beautiful sight to see. And the good thing is they're making this turnaround at a good point in the season. They're not too far gone yet. Yeah, we're still not in a playoff spot yet, but hope isn't lost. We're still not even to the Olympic break, technically. We got a few more days. But if they can maintain this coming out of the Olympic break too, there's a promising future there. I mean, there's a legitimate chance at a playoff run here if they can keep this going.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've been really, really gun shy about it the last little while here, as close as it's been to saying the season's done, mail it in, even with them being like last in the conference at certain points. We really have stayed away from saying it's over, mail it in completely for the most part. And I think they were pretty much at the end of the runway. I think if they wouldn't have gone on this streak, we'd probably now be talking about, okay, let's mail it in. But now because they've gone on this just crazy tear, it's made life so much easier for them as a whole. And again, when the previous coach loses the room, usually when a new guy comes in, there's a boost anyways. But again, somebody so well respected like Rick Bowness, these guys are playing like an entirely different team, and it's just mind-boggling to watch. And to your point about the goaltending during this, I'll just give you the goaltending stats for January here. Jet Greaves for the month of January was 6-2 or 6-2-1 with a .906 save percentage, which was not bad. It's pretty good. Obviously, the month of December was actually pretty good for him because, or save percentage wise, he didn't win a ton because they didn't score a ton, but he definitely looked a lot more confident, I thought, this entire past month. And I think the team in front of him just playing better because they love the new coach is just part of that. I think he feels more comfortable in the net. He looks more relaxed, but he feels more comfortable because he knows the guys in front of him are, got the foot all the way down on the gas.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, and it's such a collaborative effort. Also, how about Charlie Coyle with the hat trick the other night? I got to point that out. Yeah. But then again, another guy who was a huge benefit to this team this year too. I think bringing him on was such a great move, but I love Charlie Coyle. But I digress anyway. Yeah, it's easier from a goaltending standpoint when the team in front of you is playing well too. They've got your back. I'm trying to find the right words here. It does wonders, is what I'll say.
Yeah. You know what else does wonders is Elvis being at the top of his game.
That too,
because here I'll give you Elvis's save percentage for each month of this season. So October he was a .915. This team had a really hot start to the season. Makes total sense. He was a huge driving force behind that. November save percentage was .863. So absolutely terrible. He started 4 games, got shelled in all 4 of them. At an .863, somehow in December was even worse, having a mere .842 save percentage, which is awful. I mean, that is like sub ECHL bad. That is so bad.
Yeah.
And then January he's up to a .902 and played 6 games in January, won 4 of them. Looked pretty confident in himself. Wasn't letting in 4 or 5 goals a night. He just looked happier, more sure of himself, and again, so much of that is echoed throughout the lineup, but with these goalies, it's so amplified because during their bad stretch in November and December, they were like the forefront of it, and neither of them could stop shit, it seemed like, and now they don't look like how they did at the start of the season, but they look like they're way more comfortable playing now than they were in weeks and months prior.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's literally been a night and day difference. And I still like to see Elvis get that save percentage up a little bit this month. And honestly, I'm sure he will. The way things are going right now, I think everything's going to be on the up and up for the team as a whole, but especially for Elvis. But it's been really nice to see him turn around because when this team is in the shitter, he gets a lot of the flack for it, whether he's at fault for it or not. So it's nice to see some of that kind of be lifted off his shoulders now. And it's something I hope continues. So we'll see.
Yeah. By the way, when are we going to start talking about Z getting the shot at MVP here? I mean, this is ridiculous. As far as I can see, the only player on the team that is over a point a game, 60 points in 50 games. He's got 41 assists. Jesus Christ. 19 goals, 41 assists for 60 points for Z. Only 10 penalty minutes, so he's playing responsibly on the ice. And for a guy that's logging 26 minutes and 31 seconds a night, which is unreal. That is so much ice time.
This guy's a defenseman, by the way.
I mean, fuck, he could be a goalie with how long he's out there.
Yeah.
But he's playing almost half an hour a night. He's one of a few guys on the team that's a play. Actually, they have quite a few pluses as I scroll down, but he's staying out of the box. He's scoring over a point per game as a defenseman. He's playing half an hour a night. The team is probably only sniffing a playoff spot at this point because of him. I think the skid they went on in November and December would have been, tenfold if he weren't here. So at a certain point, we got to stop kidding ourselves and acting like this guy's not the most valuable player in the National Hockey League, because I don't know what else the guy needs to do to prove it. McDavid's good. McKinnon's good, Crosby's good, Kaprizov's good, Ovechkin's good. All these guys are insane elite talents who are all extremely valuable players to their team, especially a guy like McDavid or McKinnon or Kucherov, whoever you want to pick. All of those teams can make the playoffs without their best player in the lineup. I don't think the Blue Jackets can even win 25 games a season without Zach Werenski in their lineup. And I know that counteracts so many things we've said in the past about this team, and it's good construction, but so much of this team's construction works because Zach Werenski can play half an hour a night.
That was beautifully said, sir. I I couldn't agree with you more. This team doesn't even sniff 25 games or 25 wins without Zach Werenski. So again, that just goes to show you, we always say one player doesn't make or break your team, but at the same time, that shows you how valuable a guy is to a team, which most valuable player. So
I was going into this thinking that, like, yeah, there should be some Zach Werenski for MVP talk. And then I'm looking at the stat sheet here the rest of the way. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Yeah, no, this guy is without a doubt the most valuable player in the NHL.
Yeah.
Actually, the NHL's MVP award, it's actually worded specifically as most valuable player to his team, which I would argue even makes more of a case that it's Zach Werenski, because not only is he doing all this, again, as a defenseman, but if you're talking about most valuable to his team, yeah, this team is in the basement without him.
And I'll tell you what, when the day comes that Boone Jenner inevitably probably retires, because I promise he'll stay with the Jackets.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he was a Jacket for life.
But Z is the next captain, and there's no question in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, actually, they're pretty close in age now that you mention that. And I have to bring this up because they are extremely close in age. They would probably almost retire around the same time. Let's see, Boone Jenner. Okay, never mind. Boone Jenner is a little bit older. Boone Jenner's 32. Z is 28.
Well,
so
that's still
a little bit of a spread there, but I mean, not that it's unprecedented. I mean, think of how many years the Bruins were certain Bergeron's the next captain, and then Chara played till he was 75 years old. And then now Bergeron, who could have been the captain for over a decade in Boston, was captain for what? I think he was captain there for, I don't know, maybe, for like 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah, it was only 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, because then he retired.
Yeah, damn, that's crazy. That's a crime too. And I mean, a testament to Chara on how, the longevity of his career. But God, it just felt like Bergeron should have always been the captain there.
Absolutely.
I'm so biased in saying that, by the way, but it just always felt like that was his team. And not that Chara was a bad leader, because it was his team. Don't make no mistake. But God, man, Bergeron just felt like the voice of that group.
I can tell you right now, Chara was the captain, and rightfully so. Like you said, it was his team. But I'll tell you right now, his
spot was not unearned. Make no mistake. He was absolutely earned every bit of that captaincy.
But Bergeron was the face of the organization.
Yeah.
And it's not even close. Because when I thought Boston Bruins during his time with the Bruins, the first name that came to mind was Patrice Bergeron. And I think that's echoed across the NHL.
Yep. No, I would have to agree. But to bring this back to the Jackets and Z specifically, he's not the captain, but first of all, he'll always have the A on his jersey no matter what if he's not going to be a captain. And he is the heart and soul of this team. Boone Jenner, another guy, he's a great captain, great voice, great leader. But I mean, this is Z's team without a doubt.
100%. Yeah. As long as they have Z, things will always be okay.
And hopefully soon he's got a Olympic gold medal, but that's a different conversation.
No, we got to wait for that one.
Yeah, I would say we'll be talking about the Olympics next weekend. We're also going to probably either next weekend or the following, because it'll be the Olympic break, we'll do an actual standings breakdown. We thought it made more sense to do that when nobody's playing rather than trying to stuff it in at the start of the month. So that's what we'll do for that. But hopefully going into it, of course, coming out of this Olympic break, the Jackets can keep the ship stabilized here, because they might have a chance at the playoffs. The East is so ass backwards this year. It's so goofy. The Leafs, who had, I think, their best season in franchise history last year, are last in the division and third last in the conference or something like that. Yeah, that's crazy. So
that is nuts.
Kind of a goofy year, but yeah, for the Jackets, hopefully they can keep their feet on the gas, both feet down.
I have high hopes, so here's to hoping they follow through.
All right, well, we will see you guys next weekend. We'll probably, I would assume, then set up the Olympics, as the games will by then be underway, I believe.
They will.
So yeah, we'll talk about the Olympics. We'll talk about the standings as they sit for the NHL, and yeah, should be a pretty exciting show.
I know I'm looking forward to it.
And you and I are going to be at the Jackets game on Wednesday night here against the Blackhawks. So that'll be cool.
Where we will be meeting Jeff Rimmer.
Yeah, they'll be honoring the legendary Jeff Rimmer there. We will be there, and we'll be able to finally get to meet Jeff in person, as we've obviously had him on here as a guest. But it'd be really nice to see him. Nice to get out for a Jackets game, especially right before the Olympic break too. So that'll be pretty cool. It should be a fun week, and hopefully we have some fun stories to tell in addition to our content for next weekend's show. All right, everybody, have a great week.